WICR.
All right, everyone, we're back. Matt, NBA playoffs officially underway. The matchups are set. Draft lottery odds are also set. So let's get into the playoff matchups first, and we'll save the worst for last because the Knicks finally end their abysmal season. But real quick,
thank God.
Yeah, honestly, it's over. It's over, and we'll get into it in a minute. But that win against the Hawks might have killed them in terms of some of their odds for the first pick. But all right, real quick. Let's go down the West because it's actually, you know, let's save the best for last. We'll go East first. Atlanta, Brooklyn, first round. Honestly, Brooklyn snuck in last night. I don't know if
they don't deserve to be in that. They don't.
Indiana could have beat Memphis last night and secured their spot. It would have been a great story with Paul George coming back, helping his team in the final couple weeks of this season. But you know they couldn't
on the stretch.
They couldn't muster up that win, and Brooklyn sneaks in, and I think they're going to get swept.
I think so too. Atlanta. I mean, they have a very, very complete roster now, and there's no actual star power on that team, you can say, but
they're going to go right through them.
They are. I really think it's going to be 4 games, honestly. I think they're going to lose it in Brooklyn in their 4th game on 27th.
Yep. All right, Toronto, Washington. I think I'm going to go Washington on this. I think that Toronto is having a down year in terms of what they did last year. I just think that Washington, you know, they've got better guards. I think you know, it's Lowry and DeRozan against John Wall and Bradley Beal, and I just think John Wall is better than Kyle Lowry.
I agree.
At least he's having a better year, and yeah, I think that's going to be. I mean, it's not really an upset. Washington's a 5, Toronto's a 4, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm going with you too. I think Washington's probably gonna beat Toronto too. I mean, I think it's gonna go. It could probably go 6-7 games. I think. Yeah, but I mean, they're pretty evenly matched in terms of roster, but I think John Wall is really the key, obviously, that kind of puts him over the top. So, like you said, the guard play is going to be big for them. You know, the bench is also going to be big. Washington's got a good bench. I see Washington going on, too.
All right, Chicago, Milwaukee. Everyone probably thinks that this might be, you know, a easy one for Chicago, getting the Bucks, who haven't been in the playoffs in a while. Jason Kidd doing a nice job there coaching that team. In his first year there, after he kind of ditched the Nets, they've got young guys. Obviously, they're without Jabari Parker. Jabari Parker tore his Achilles. They've had a nice season. What do you think is going to go down in that series?
I think it's still Chicago. I mean, Milwaukee's been a nice story. Obviously, like you said, Jason Kidd, give him credit. You know, obviously the way he left wasn't good, but he's coached this young team very well. But that's going to be a huge loss without Jabari Parker and. You know, it's good for experience to have the Bucks in the playoffs. You know, obviously they can build upon this, but I mean, now the Bulls are pretty much at full strength right now. You have Rose back, and you know they're clicking at the right time.
Pau Gasol has just been unbelievable this season.
Had a rejuvenating season. My goodness,
over 50 double doubles. Give me a break. Like, how do you? I don't know how. Game in, game out, he just, you know, he showed up, and Joakim Noah became an afterthought of that team. Just. A year or two ago, people were saying, "Oh, Joakim Noah, MVP candidate." He was putting up triple doubles almost at the same rate that Russell Westbrook was putting them up this season. Now Joakim Noah, you know, I guess he's been battling an injury, but you know, more often than not, I've turned on a Chicago game and he's been on the bench, and it's been all Pau Gasol. So it's nice to see him. You know, like you said, having a rejuvenating season after how things ended with the Lakers. And the last series, Cleveland and Boston. Boston also. A bunch of young guys.
Nice
young
story.
Coach.
Brad Stevens, yep.
Great story. I think that Boston might steal a game from Cleveland just, you know, to show their fans and to show everyone, you know, we belong here. I mean, it's obviously going to be, you know, an easier series for Cleveland. Any thoughts?
I'm interested to see how Kevin Love plays.
Yeah,
finally.
And Kyrie.
Yeah, both playing in their first postseason games. I mean, obviously, you know, you have the best player on the planet playing. This is, you know, go time for him,
yeah,
but
I don't think it's.
I don't think it's gonna be. I mean, I think Cleveland's gonna. I think you're right. I think maybe Boston pulls out maybe a game, maybe in their own arena. But I still think, you know, obviously Cleveland's gonna roll over them in 5 games.
All right, going over to the Wild Wild West, we've got Golden State and New Orleans, and I just want to set the record straight. I know OKC missed by a game. I just think that the Pelicans, this is awesome. I want to see Anthony Davis in the playoffs, and we're going to see Anthony Davis in the playoffs. He hit that big 3 against OKC for the tiebreaker because they ended up winning that season series, I believe 3-1, and that turned out to be the difference. So they get to go up against Golden State as the 8th seed. What do you think?
I like this matchup a lot. You know, I was telling you off the air, I think the West has has such great matchups that it's almost hard to kind of pick for some of these. It's nice to finally see Anthony Davis, obviously in the postseason in the playoffs. You want to see what he does here. He's fully healthy. They have good guards too. They're a young team. Obviously I'm gonna go Golden State, but I think this has a chance to go 6 or 7 easily.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. I really do. I think especially at home for New Orleans, I think that they could really make it a really good series.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Golden State's gonna be. I mean, they're my pick to make it to the finals and ultimately win. I don't think they're gonna come. I don't think they're gonna come close to a 6 or 7 game series, to be honest. But I think New Orleans. You're right. They've got good guards. They've got Anthony Davis, who's an absolute beast, MVP candidate. And I think they will steal a game or two, but in the end, I think it's Golden State all the way. Moving on, Portland and Memphis. This is an interesting series. But Portland with the injuries, Memphis kind of like the old vets, and they're there every year. What do you think?
I think this is going to be a good series too. I'm going to go Memphis on this. I think it's just the easier choice, honestly. But Memphis has been playing well all year. Portland, like you said, has had the injury bug lately, and I think Memphis just has the better overall roster, honestly, right now. And I think defensively, obviously, they're also one of the best in the league. So. I see this problem. I could see Portland, getting 1 or 2 games. So it may go. I'd say Memphis in 6.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's gonna go 7. I think Portland might be a little overmatched. I would like to see them, lose badly because that'll just give LaMarcus Aldridge some second thoughts on staying there. But we'll talk about that in a second.
Some ulterior motives going on
here. We'll spend
a
couple minutes on the Knicks.
Why?
Yeah, I mean, that's just me being cruel. But, yeah, honestly, Portland, they've so many injuries. Wesley Matthews going down with the torn Achilles.
Huge.
Aflalo, hurt his shoulder. Batum has been out. Aldridge has been battling thumb injury, ankle injury all year. So I just think Memphis will prevail, though. They've got a nice team in Zebo, Marcus All, and Mike Conley. They've got a nice core, and I think they'll be fine in that first-round series. All right, Clippers and San Antonio. This is going to be an awesome – I can't believe this is – this is the matchup. The Clippers and the Spurs, this is great.
Yeah, I'm excited about this one, too. We've been saying San Antonio was going to be done, the last 4 or 5 seasons, and every year they just
it's unbelievable.
They defy Father Time. It's unbelievable. Tim Duncan has been playing out of his mind this year. I mean, the guy just looks so rejuvenated. And Greg Popovich, obviously, I don't think gets enough credit as probably one of the best coaches, if not the best coach in the NBA. But, the Clippers have a lot of talent, too. They're a running team. Chris Paul, obviously, is probably one of the best, probably top 3 point guards in the league. But going up against Tony Parker is not fun either. He's a quick point guard, too. And, if I had to pick, I'm going with San Antonio. I mean, I don't know how you can bet against San Antonio. They are the reigning world champs, but this has a chance to go 7. I think also. I really do.
I agree. I think this one and the next series, the last series we're gonna bring up in a second. Those are the 2 to keep your eye on for the 7-game series. I think the Clippers, they've been hot. Chris Paul is playing at a ridiculous level. No one's talking about him for MVP. He's carried that team. I know DeAndre Jordan's there, but what is he? He's a rebounder and a scorer. He doesn't shoot from outside 2 feet.
Right.
Blake Griffin missed a lot of time with that elbow injury. They've got absolutely no bench. Their bench is the worst in the NBA by far. They're 25th or worse in every category in terms of bench, defense, offense, however you want to put it. Who do they have on the bench besides Jamal Crawford? Nobody. So it's all Chris Paul.
Yeah, I mean, you got Hedo Turkoglu, JJ Redick, some older veterans, obviously, Glenn Davis. But yeah, you're right. It's going. You're really putting a lot on DeAndre Jordan, Blake Griffin, and Chris Paul to really lead this team. And like you said, Griffin's been battling some injury. Paul, obviously, is a star player, but Jordan is just a post presence, so he's not going to give you anything outside on the perimeter. So I think this it's still going to be a good matchup, but this is going to go the Spurs' way for sure. There's more of a complete team.
I could see that, but honestly, I'm not going to count out the Clippers. Doc Rivers is there. He knows what he's doing. They even got Mike Woodson, our old boy, on the bench coaching defense. I mean, that's a sight to see, but anyways.
Back in the playoffs again.
Houston and Dallas, the final matchup in the West. This is going to be awesome as well. I mean, Dallas, they've got a stacked roster. I don't know if it meshes as well as, some people thought it might, or as well as they thought it might once they acquired Rajon Rondo. They've got Rondo Ellis, Dirk, they've got Amari, they've got Tyson Chandler, they've got the names. Can they put it all together and go up against Houston, who's the 2 seed?
It's going to be a good matchup, too. the names you listed, I mean, they should have been better than the record says, I think. But you're right. I think some of the egos didn't mesh all together. Obviously, they had some injuries as well along the way, but this has the potential to be probably one of the best matchups too going forward. Ah, man, I like Houston. I like Houston in this. I can't count out Harden. Harden has just been. I mean, he's obviously been an MVP candidate this year. I just think that going into the postseason, Harden just is going to will this team, and Dallas, unless again, Rick Carlisle is a tremendous coach too, and he's got great basketball IQ. But I just feel like this team, for Houston at least, I think it's just a little bit better than Dallas in terms of just overall roster uniformity.
I need to apologize. I think I just went through the whole Dallas starting five and didn't mention Dirk Nowitzki, so shame on me.
That's okay. That's okay. That shows how deep they are and should be.
How do you forget about Dirk? He
Hall of Famer.
He carried that team on his back throughout the playoffs. They beat LeBron in the finals. We all know about it, and what a great accomplishment for him back in 2012. And to see them back in the playoffs, they took San Antonio, the eventual NBA champions, last year. They took them to 7 games in the first round. No one remembers that, so I think that you can't ever count them out. I think Houston, they're a nice team. They got Harden. They've got a couple nice pieces. Trevor Ariza, Monty Hunis, Dwight Howard. I think he's a bum. I hate him. I can't stand him. I think he's soft. I think he's overrated, and honestly, I'm just not a fan. Harden is, he's the MVP, I think, runner-up. I think it's going to be Steph Curry, just in terms of what that team has accomplished.
I agree.
Scoring and defense, both sides of the ball.
If Oklahoma City got in, I think it would have been Westbrook.
Oh, I don't know. He missed so much time. I don't know.
I think. But look what he had. Look what he had to work with. Look what he was doing by
right.
himself.
You're right.
The guy had. Well, how many triple doubles did he have in the last month and a half?
Probably 10.
I mean, the guy was just a machine.
Yeah, no, you're right. It would have been interesting to see because he would have definitely gotten more votes than he will now. He'll probably pick up a vote or two.
It would have been a nice story to see him, to make it through without Durant, most of the season. Obviously, all the injuries they had to go through, to not make it, and it just shows you. I mean, for a team that won 45 games and they didn't make it, and then you have Brooklyn, with 38 making it in, it's a joke. They have to do some kind of realignment with this. It's just not fair.
Yeah. No, going back to that series real quick, I think it's going to be Dallas.
Really?
I think Houston, I just don't see it.
Well, how many games is he going?
I can see it going 7. I really could. I know Houston's got the home court because they are the 2 seed. I just don't. I don't know. I think,
are you more with just Dallas's overall roster, or what's swaying you?
Not only that, I'm just looking at the matchup. They've got guys inside in Chandler and Amari. It's like I'm talking about the Knicks here, but no, honestly, they can put either Ellis or Rondo on Harden. I think they're both capable of defending him to a certain extent. Obviously, you can't just stop James Harden, but I just looking at other pieces outside, I just think that Houston might find themselves overmatched just a little bit. But Matt, we got to talk about the draft lottery for a minute before we wrap things up. The odds are out. The Knicks sit at second in terms of the standings for the draft lottery. Their chances for the number 1 pick are at 19.9, so let's call it 20%. And for the top 3, they're at 55.8. Matt, if they don't pick up one of the top 2 picks, I'm gonna go crazy. I'm gonna lose my mind.
Already, what was a lost season. Something has to go right for this team this year.
Right.
I'm convinced that they are going to get
all the hard work they spent losing needs to turn into something.
And then they end up beating Atlanta the other day. I mean,
oh my God, that could have been the killer.
But listen, you can't ask a team to not win. I understand that, but you know what? You could just put guys that aren't that good in. I mean, sit Galloway for a game. Sit some of these guys out.
How about that game Galloway had down in Atlanta? Though?
Yeah, you got to give it to him. I mean, that was his career game.
His parents came up from Baton Rouge, where he was born and raised.
Yep.
They came up to watch him, and he absolutely showed out. I think he set a career high.
Well,
almost 30 points.
He's a keeper. Yeah, he's definitely a keeper going forward. I mean, you know what? What this season was, at least, is you get to see some of these guys, which is mostly the Westchester Knicks. Let's put it that way. You get to see what they have and what you have as an organization going forward. So, while yes, it was by all means a lost season, unless they do get a first number 1 or number 2 pick. But at least you get to see some of these guys going forward who's going to be sticking around. They really have to go in next year, obviously with a healthy Melo. We're going to see what they're going to pick up. There was an article in the Daily News today about Greg Monroe, who they were saying, somebody was saying, an unidentified source saying that he's definitely coming to the Knicks. Listen, he's 24 years old, and he's a great center. I'll take that. But they need more than that though. So I mean, if you get Greg Monroe, you get a number 1 or 2 pick, and a healthy Melo, you got something going there.
No, yeah, I agree. I think that I mean, Monroe, he's nice. I'd rather have Aldridge. If you just watch LaMarcus Aldridge play, he is exactly what the Knicks could use. He can post up, he can pick and pop, he can shoot the ball, he can rebound, and he's an underrated passer for a big man. Monroe, I'm not gonna lie, I haven't watched much of him. I know he's a double machine.
He is, yeah.
The Knicks need every team needs rebounding, so I wouldn't mind taking him. I don't think he's a max player. That's another thing that Phil and Steve Mills are gonna have to figure out with some of these guys. To come to the Knicks, people are going to want money.
Right.
They're not just going to come to the Knicks, to win, because the Knicks haven't showed that they can really, compete for much right now. So they're going to have to overpay for some guys.
Although the lure of Madison Square Garden and New York City and then the nightlife and everything like that, I'm sure will convince some guys to come over here. But you're absolutely right. And what the Knicks also need, which you didn't talk about, is a point guard, a legit point guard. They need a distributor, because if you're going to fill this team with shooters and you have nobody that's going to be, a pass-first kind of guy, I mean, again, who are you giving the ball to? I mean, obviously, if Aldridge comes over, he's going to be the number 1 guy, no?
Yeah.
So, I mean, they need somebody that's going to be able to distribute the ball, that's going to run the floor, if they're going to stick with the triangle offense.
They're sticking with it. I don't think it's going anywhere.
As long as Phil Jackson's running this team, I don't think it's going anywhere either. I mean, I think you need to change it up a little bit. Not reinventing the wheel here. They know what it is now. Yeah. So let's, I don't know. It's not, 1998 anymore. All
right. Before we wrap it up, what's your pick for the finals, and who do you think is going to come away with the title?
Oh boy.
Again, we'll revisit this next week once the games are underway, and we'll break down the series. But I'm just curious.
I'm going Cleveland, San Antonio.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Cleveland, San Antonio, and I'm going to say Cleveland.
You think it's going to be LeBron against the Spurs again?
Yep.
For a third year in a row. Wow.
I definitely.
That would be compelling. That would be very compelling.
How fun would that be to watch?
That would be awesome. It would be. It would be great.
And I don't think
Cleveland would win. But honestly,
really.
I think Cleveland will be there in the finals. I think it's Golden State all the way.
Wow, really?
They're having one of those years.
Can you imagine if Steve Kerr walks away with a championship?
In his first season.
Oh my gosh,
that would be crazy.
Wow.
I just think that they're gonna just go through the playoffs. I don't think they're gonna touch a Game 7. I just think it's their year.
Wow.
I just really do.
Now before we go, I wanted to bring up something before. Now last week we were talking very briefly.
Yeah.
About the Masters. Now I know nothing about golf. I'll admit that. I admitted that last week. But Antonio, who was one of the sleepers that you said to watch out for? I remember this very clearly.
You asked me You asked me, and I quote, who are some of the sleepers, if there are any, in golf? So I said, Matt, a guy like Bubba Watson.
Right.
He's not really a sleeper. He's won the Masters before. Keep an eye on him. Rory McIlroy, who has won all 3 majors but the Masters. He ended up with, I believe, a top 10 finish, so, he played well. But the last name I said was Jordan Spieth, the 21-year-old from Dallas, Texas. And sure enough, he was the runner-up last year. And he wins the Masters this year, so a pat on the back from myself.
Absolutely.
For picking that.
Nostradamus over here.
Absolutely. Yeah, but hey, it was great to see Tiger Woods compete. Honestly, I don't know if you got to see any clips, but Tiger was in there through the first 3 days. He was, I believe, -6 after the first 3 rounds. So he was there. He made the cut. Obviously, he competed and he looked better.
Golf like we talked about last week, golf needs Tiger Woods. Hopefully this is a sign of things to come for him, if he finished off strong at least. So, you hope that going forward he gets back to the level of play that, everyone's expected of him. So.
And they actually switched the order of the majors this year. They moved the Players Championship, which is usually the 3rd major over the summer.
Right.
They moved that up to I believe a month from now. It's actually going to be before the US Open now. I think that's how they organize. I don't know. They switched it up for some reason.
What was that for, do you know?
What's that?
What was the reason for that?
I have no idea.
No.
Maybe to keep to gauge interest, to keep everyone tuned in. But no, where's the U.S. Open this year? It's in somewhere in D.C. I think it's called like Columbus Bay or something like that. I don't even know if Tiger's ever won there in any tournament. But hey, I think as long as Tiger's contending in majors, people are going to stay tuned in. He's got to keep working on his swing, because the short game was there. Everyone was worried about the short game, and the short game showed up, and it was his irons that kind of let him down. On Sunday, the final round, he couldn't hit a fairway off the tee. He was driving shots into the woods, so that's another thing he's got to work on. But no, it's great to see him back.
Absolutely, yeah, it's fun to watch, and hopefully, he'll get back to the competitive player that he was. Because, like I said, golf needs Tiger Woods.
Absolutely.
But it's nice to see some of these young kids though stepping up now.
Oh my gosh,
McIlroy
awesome.
and Spieth,
it's
and
awesome.
yeah, so
All right.
game is growing.
We're gonna keep an eye on no more golf for a little while. We're gonna keep an eye on the Mets and the Yankees because they are really what's driving the New York sports scene right now. Matt, we're gonna be back a week from today, so I hope everyone has a good rest of the week, good weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Take care, everybody.
Of Billy the Kid.